What's going on, guys? This is Gunny Smith, and today I want to make a video about this gun right here. This is the Taurus Millennium PT111 G2. I just recently purchased this gun for 210 bucks, and I was so happy with it that I just want to make a video showing you guys how awesome this gun is for that price. So before we get started here, these other two guns I have, this is my Glock 43, it's my carry gun, and this is my Glock 19. I just have them out here to show you guys a size comparison, because everyone pretty much knows the size of those guns, so that way you can see where this gun falls into. It's pretty much right in between the size of these guns. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Please ignore the sheets. I'm doing this on my parents' bed because there's better lighting in here. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask about the camo on my Glock 19 here. This is just hydro dipped. Obviously, that's not from the factory. I have another video on my channel about the hydro dip process. I'm not going to get into that here because we're here to talk about this gun. And I'm doing this one-handed, so I don't have time to safety check all these guns. I'll tell you right now, these are both empty, and this one's loaded because it's my carry gun, but I'm not going to be playing with that. It's just here for a size reference, so we can get all that out. Alright, so for $200, this gun has some features that would compete with a $500 Glock. One of the main features I want to point out with this gun is the grip. That grip is really nice. It's like sandpaper. It's nice and rough. You can get a good grip on it, and it's definitely not sliding out of your hands. It might be a little too rough for people, which that's nothing a little sandpaper can't fix. And you can always take some roughness off with sandpaper. You can't add roughness back unless you stipple your gun or something like that. So it's better for them to make it too rough than not enough. And I think they did it just perfect with the grip on here. Alright, so another thing that's really cool about this gun is the size. Obviously, I told you it's in between the Glock 43 and the Glock 19. So that's kind of like, this is the compact Glock, and this would be the equivalent of the subcompact Glock. I know it's a single stack, but in terms of the height and width, it's pretty much the same thing there. So this gun is right in between those two in that department, but the really cool thing is how skinny it is. This gun is skinnier than most double stacks, because this is a double stack. It holds 12 rounds of 9mm. It's skinnier than most double stacks, but just a little bit thicker than my single stack here. So this is my single stack. I'll show you. Again, this is loaded, but it's not cocked, so we're safe. Alright, so you can see it's a little bit wider than that, but keep in mind, this is a double stack. This only holds 6 bullets, this holds 12. And that is just barely wider than that is. And then, just for comparison for the double stack Glock here, this might be hard to see on the video, but it is skinnier than the Glock. I don't know, I can't hold this, forgive me. But so you can see that. That's another really cool thing about this gun is I think it's probably one of the skinniest double stacks on the market. Alright, then just some additional things. It does have an accessory rail, which is pretty cool for a gun of this size, to be able to put a light or a laser. It is a very small accessory rail. Probably most of the light and lasers will not fit on this, but there are some out there that do. It's just cool to have that option. I like that that's there. You also get fully adjustable sights for windage and elevation. They are polymer sights, but I mean for 200 bucks you can't expect much more than that. Glocks have polymer sights from the factory, but I like that it's fully adjustable for windage and elevation. That's a pretty nice feature. It also has a thumb safety, so a lot of guys don't like Glocks because of that. I don't really care one way or the other, but it is there. It's another nice feature that they have. And another really cool thing about this gun is that it's actually double action. So I just cocked it there. You can see that's the nice light pull, and then it breaks right there. But then if you get a weak primer strike or something like that and the gun doesn't go bang, you can actually pull it again and it'll stay cocked. Glocks don't do that. I'll show you with the unloaded one here. But if you get a weak primer strike, you can set it off. I know sometimes some NATO 9mm has pretty strong primers. I've never had that issue with this gun. I've shot it only about 100 times, but it's not like that's an issue that you'd run into. But here's the Glock. Obviously, once it's shot, it doesn't reset. So that's pretty cool. Alright, now we have to talk about the negatives. And there's only one negative that I have found with this gun. And from what I've seen on YouTube, other people have the same issue. It's not even really an issue, really. It's not like the gun malfunctions or anything. But first, let me show you the Glock trigger. So you see, that's the take-up. And then you can tell right there it's going to break. So next little bit, it breaks right there. That's a normal trigger, what you would expect from a gun like this. This one, on the other hand, it doesn't break till way back there. And if you have big hands like I do, that can feel really awkward, having your trigger finger go that far back before it breaks. So you feel it right there. I will say though, it's one of the cleanest triggers I've ever felt on a striker fire. You know, that take up is very smooth. It's a very positive wall, and there's no like creep or anything. You know, the next centimeter, it's going to shoot. So it's a very clean trigger. It's just really weird getting used to how far back it breaks. But that is the only negative. I've only shot 100 rounds through it, and I haven't had any issues there. But I've seen other YouTube videos of people torture testing it, and it performs pretty well. I don't want to say just as good as a Glock, because I'm sure I'll get flamed for that. But it performs. For the price, it certainly performs. Now, I have made some modifications to this gun, all of which have been with sandpaper, and they're not noticeable at all. I took a little bit off the front of the grip. Like I said, it was pretty rough. And then I took a little bit off the back. Because after holding it and squeezing it tight and shooting about 100 rounds through it, that just kind of started to irritate my hands there. But again, just like 10 seconds of some very fine sandpaper, and it's perfect now. I wouldn't change that any way else. Another thing that I've changed is the trigger. There was a little seam where it was like molded or whatever, kind of like a plastic blade that was kind of sharp on the trigger. And again, after about 100 rounds, it was kind of sore on my trigger finger, so I had to file that down a little bit. Now it feels fine. There's no problem there. And then the last thing was the sights. I told you they're polymer sights. It kind of had a bit of an edge to it. It was pretty sharp, actually. And I carried the gun. And full disclosure, I'm a pretty big dude, and I have a voluptuous figure. And so I got some love handles hanging over my waistband, okay? And my love handles were rubbing on the sights, and it kind of hurt. So I just very lightly filed down those sights, just a little bit. I wanted to be sure that I didn't mess up the dots or anything. But now it's fine. I've carried it since, and my love handles have made a full recovery. So that's good. Alright, I'm going to try to roll in a picture of my first 10 shots with this gun, the group that I got. You'll notice there is a flyer that's low left. That was my first shot, getting used to that trigger. But the other 9 shots are in a very tight pattern. And so I'm going to try to roll that in here. Alright, so that's really all I have to say about this Taurus Millennium PT111 G2. It is a great value. For $200, this gun is in the same price range as a High Point. So there's absolutely no excuse for you not to go out and buy one of these for $200. Thank you for watching, and God bless.